If you're a budding artist, drawing flowers is a great way to build your skill set and gain confidence. Today I'm sharing 5 simple flowers that you can master in an afternoon. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. My name is Shayda, and today we are going to draw some flowers together. I'm sharing my process for 5 simple but versatile flowers that you can master today. So here is what I'm using. I love this little sketchbook from Strathmore. It's got this really toothy paper. It's actually meant for colored pencils, but I just happen to love it for fine liners for pens. I'm also using a mechanical pencil as usual. This is just loaded with HB lead from the dollar store. Nothing special, but it never needs to be sharpened. And then I have a gum eraser, a nice soft eraser that won't crease the page. I'm also using fine liners, the black liners from Moloto. I just picked them up. They're awesome. Now I am using the 04 nib to do the illustrations. Those little numbers refer to the actual nib size of the pen. And then I'll use the smaller nib size for all my line shading. All the shading, I've got a bit of a smaller nib. So grab a fine liner, could be a Pigma Micron. And before we start, I would like to say there is going to be a worksheet for everyone supporting me on Patreon. If you're interested in channel bonus content like worksheets, head over there. All the content starts at $2 a month. Okay, we'll start our illustration today with the simple but lovely lavender. It's a very linear flower, so I've started with 2 curving lines. And then the blossoms of the flower, I do these little ovals. And you can see, I'll do another one here. I just leave a little space between each set of ovals, and I place 2 or 3 or 4 in a cluster. Then we're going to add some long, thin leaves to surround the lavender, and that's it. Let's go over it in pen and do it together. We've got these clusters of little ovals with a bit of space in between where you can see the stem. And the stem is just a thin curving line. So yeah, add as many little sprigs as you like. You can see I've added a third one in the middle there. They all should have a little bit of a curve and a little movement to them so that the lavender doesn't look too stiff. And then of course, just go over your long, thin, oval-shaped leaves in pen. Okay, let's grab that smaller fine liner and we're going to add some line shading. So what I'll do first is simply add some lines to the leaves. It'll make them darker and that'll help differentiate the leaves from the flowers. And I decided to add a few more small little lavenders there. And then I'm going to get rid of all my pencil. Forgot to shade that one leaf, so we'll do that. And that's pretty much it. It's very simple but very pretty. Next up, we're going to try a basic flower that's kind of in a side profile. So start with a guide, a stem and a U shape where the blossom will be. And then we're going to put a little V there and then make some petal shapes. Let's do another one. Stem, maybe do a few small leaves. Mine are just thin ovals. Sketch out that semicircle where the blossom will be. Put a little V at the bottom and then just sketch some messy kind of petal shapes. For this one, I'm going to draw some little ovals and those represent the stamen, but you don't even have to do that. I'm going to go over this in pen so you can really see, do the curving stems, some natural thin leaves, and then where we've placed that guide, that semicircle, we're doing these kind of wiggly petal shapes. And on the second one, I added just some little tiny ovals to represent a stamen that's kind of peeking out. Let's get rid of all those messy pencil smudges and then take the fine liner. You can refine the shape of the sepal at the bottom of the flower. I'm going to color in all the leaves so that they're much darker. And again, it provides a contrast between what is a leaf and what is a flower. And then use your smaller fine liner to add some line shading. Here, I'm adding some simple broken lines just sort of at the base of the flower. The lines go up and out following the shape of the petals. And I'll add a few lines at the top of each flower to show the ruffly nature of the petal. To finish, maybe add a leaf or 2 where you need it, and that's it. Our next floral illustration gives us a chance to talk a little bit about depth and perspective. So start with a guide, a circle with a circle in the middle to represent the stamen. Then we'll place 2 petals and then 2 more. And then if you like, you can tuck a few more petals in behind. Wiggle the pen a bit, make sure they're not too smooth. You can also add a stem and a couple leaves. And looking at this flower, you'll notice it's very straight on facing the viewer. The next one we're going to draw has a little bit more of a side angle, a concave look. So we're sketching an oval, not a circle. Then we're placing the center of the flower very low in that oval. Now you have your guide done, you begin to place the petals. You'll notice that front petal is very short and the other ones are larger, and that's going to help with the concave look of the flower. It looks like it's on an angle and it's much more natural. I'm going to go over everything in pen. Starting with the stamen, we're going to do just a bunch of kind of these scribbly dots or maybe some little ovals. Make it messy, make it perfectly imperfect. And as you go around and add the petals, make sure that you're wiggling the pen a little bit. You don't want them looking too smooth. You want that organic look. Thinking about the perspective when you draw your flowers is just a great thing to sort of get in the habit of, because you can create plants that are much more natural looking, and it's really not hard as long as you begin with that guide. It makes the process, I think, really simple, and that's the process for the concave flower. Do the oval and place the stamen really low. I'm adding lots of little leaves, just kind of doing the same, wiggling the pen a little bit, making them perfectly imperfect. They're all a bit different. I like to tuck a few leaves in behind the flowers, and yeah, that's about it for the initial sketch. I got rid of my pencil and all the smudges, and now I'm using that smaller fine liner to add some line shading, and the line shading will also really add to the depth and perspective of the flower. You can see here I've added all these little lines right near the center, so that helps with the concave look. It makes the center of the flower look lower, and I'm also adding some lines just on the whole of each petal to help with the look of the flower being, a bit ruffled. The flower is not smooth. There's also little lines on those secondary petals so that it shows there's a little bit of shadow there. And finally, I added some lines to the center of each leaf just for the look of veining. Okay, moving on, we're going to actually do a daisy, and this is a good example of a flower that can be convex. So let's start with our guide. For the first one, we've done the circle with the circle in the center to represent the stamen. And then I just did a bunch of lines going out like spokes on a wheel, and then those lines help me place the petals. Now make sure for these petals, I'm going to say it again, they should be a little weird, perfectly imperfect. Some of them will be pointy, some of them will end in 2 or 3 little points, so don't make them too smooth. Now let's sketch a daisy that is on an angle. So again, I start with an oval. This one was concave and the stamen was at the bottom. The daisy is convex, so the stamen is at the top. That's the only difference. We're going to put those lines like the spokes of a wheel, start inputting the petals. The guide helps us know which petals are short and which petals are longer, and that is how we get the look of a convex flower, one where the petals are kind of turning down. I've added some messy leaves and curving stems, and let's start going over everything in pen. I'll start with the stamen again, and I'm just doing this cluster of little lines, and then I'm going to surround that with tiny circles. For this one that's kind of facing the viewer, I'm doing a lot of little circles and then kind of just filling it in darker. Now for the leaves, I am making them quite messy. So one might end in a little bit of a point, one might end in a more squarish form. So you just want to make sure that they're not too good looking. You want that organic, natural look. So think perfectly imperfect here. And for the daisy that's on an angle, you're just following your guide. You've got these tiny little petals that you can barely see, kind of tucked in the back, and that gives us that beautiful perspective. For the leaves, I'm doing curving lines with all these really thin little ovals on them, and that kind of gives the look of this daisy leaf. And then of course, we are going to add our line shading, and I'm doing a lot of line shading right near the stamen. That always looks natural, and I'm darkening the leaves again. So remember, with the line shading, just follow the shape of the petal or leaf and it will look really natural. All right, last one. I think I saved the easiest for last, which is always nice. We're going to draw some berries. Berries are a great accent with your floral illustrations. And I just do a cluster of little ovals, join those ovals with some stems, and then do a bunch of tiny oval-shaped leaves. I'm also doing some thin leaves here just to show you that when it comes to your botanicals, really any shape goes. You know, if you master a couple different flowers, then adding different leaves and berries is really fun, and you can get creative and you can make stuff up. It does not all have to come from nature, although nature is a great source of inspiration. So I'm going over all my berries with the fine liner. I'm putting a line down the center of each leaf. That's going to help with my shading. I'm tucking some leaves in behind the berries for a nice natural look. And again, I just did this really simple leaf shape to show you that you can do anything. Large oval-shaped leaves, tiny round leaves, you know, anything goes. So get creative. And here I'll take that smaller fine liner. I'm adding a little bit of line shading to the side of each berry to help give them that rounded look. I'm going to shade one side of each leaf. And yeah, that's about it. The berries are so simple and fun to draw. And of course, you can color in these leaves if you like. You do not have to. And I think we are about done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel like these are flowers that you can draw, that you can learn, and start to incorporate into your own artwork. Try to change them up a little bit once you get the hang of them. You know, there's a couple different flowers I go back to. Linear flowers like lavender, these round flowers like poppies, flowers with messy petals like daisies and black-eyed Susan. Once you have a few in your back pocket, you'll find making botanical illustrations so much fun. Get creative, do it your own way, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Make sure to pop over to Patreon afterwards and get that worksheet, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial.